Okay, so yeah, I asked Reverend Scott yesterday if, he thought maybe I could get on the schedule to offer a Dharma talk at some point. I didn't realize it would be today. So that shows me that I need to have it well prepared before I even ask. So I spent time putting it together last night. And I will be reading it, what I wrote, because you know me and I have my social anxiety, and I'm proud of myself for even doing this. So, so I'll be reading it. I'm going to try to make it sound like I'm not, though. Okay, so the Dharma talk today is about releasing into the flow of life. And a side piece of information before I begin is that I don't know how to swim. So yeah. So with that said, back a few years ago, I went to Hawaii, and I mean, it was a beautiful experience. I love the ocean always. And it's funny that I love the ocean and yet I, don't know how to swim. So that's interesting. But anyway, while there, my friend wanted to teach me how to swim. And initially, I felt super excited to experience, swimming for the first time really in the ocean. That was really cool, the thought of it. However, the closer the time came to actually experiencing that moment, I became more and more frightened. And so once I entered into the water, my body became very rigid and tense. I could literally feel my mind and body slamming shut against my experience. And being in the ocean with the waves continually flowing towards me, feeling vulnerable and groundless, I felt entirely exposed to the whims of the water. The waves were more powerful than I was, and would slam against my stiff body and toss me around effortlessly. At times, I was swept under the water, where I would only continue to meet my circumstance with more rigidity, thrashing, and fighting against my present moment experience. I continued to feebly resist the waves. I don't know, I'm a slow learner. Still not allowing myself to open to the moment and release into the flow of the water. And I very quickly became physically and mentally worn out. It is really hard, trying to fight against the powerful water because it's always going to be coming, and the same is true for life. When we resist the natural movement of life, we quickly become fatigued mentally, emotionally, and physically. It requires a lot of energy to keep fighting against the moment. This constant resistance depletes us and leaves us weary, making it especially difficult to connect to the present moment, our own true nature, and the basic goodness that pervades all of life. The waves of life will continue to happen, sometimes pleasant and sometimes unpleasant. We can continue to resist being with each moment as it is, or we can learn to float the waves with a sense of open release, softening to the ebb and flow of life. When we begin opening to our circumstances, and ease and contentment begins to flourish. So after some time of stubbornly trying to control the crashing waves, I finally let go. I released the tension in my body and mind and discovered that the experience is a lot more enjoyable and easeful when I chose to let go and soften to my experience. So all I did really was learn how to float, but that's okay. So floating on the waves, I felt that I was free. I was free from the constant struggle with life. I had finally learned in that moment to release and be with what arises. Of course, now this moment, only lasted about 10 minutes and really hasn't come back, but at least I've experienced that, 10 minutes of peace and ease. So when we experience something pleasant, we often become very attached and want to hold it in our grasp forever. And then we may feel sadness or frustration when it inevitably comes to an end. And we may meet this shift with aversion, wanting things to stay the same. But everything is always changing, just like the waves of the ocean. Our moment-to-moment experiences are constantly flowing through our awareness. We can learn to trust in the natural movement of life and release into this powerful flow with a sense of contentment and float with instead of resist each moment as they occur. And so my question, and if we want to go around and ask a few people, or if you feel called to respond, my question is do you notice resistance to experiences in your life? And, maybe consider some ways in which you can release and flow with life instead.